Okay, let's see the Super Bowl. But before we get to the Super Bowl predictions, let's have a look at this article here. Police arrest drunk time traveller from 2048, warning of coming alien invasion. Officers are in Casper, Wyoming, apprehend Tippler, claiming he's arrived from the future. And what's interesting about this is that this guy had some interesting things to say, which point to it being true, because he describes the time machine. And if you know anything about like the Integratron, George Van Tassel's Integratron time machine, you'll notice the similarities between that kind of device, that time machine, and this time machine that this guy from 2048, who was sent back in time by aliens, which is quite interesting because he warned of a coming alien invasion. This was in 2017. Well, yeah, October 2017. It's interesting what he had to say. If it comes up, yeah. So who was the man told the police that he was only able to time travel because aliens filled his body with alcohol. He noted that he was supposed to be transported to the year 2018, not this year. Now that's really interesting, is that because if you're going to send somebody back in time, you would want them to be unconscious, because if you know how a time machine works, a real time machine, it's well, frequency can be density can be phased through time. Now it's interesting if you look at the time travel equation F equals 1 over t, it's a reciprocal function because it has a time field. There's no 0 point, and so it's very interesting because if you're going backwards in time, phasing density backwards in time, in order to go forwards in time, you've got to do a phase shift of 180 degrees, which is what that equation said. And I like the fact that a female, some woman, were talking about the equation F equals 1 over t, and she pointed out that it's a reciprocal function, e.g., you can go both ways. So she basically showed that, or pointed out, should I say, that if you basically phase shift 180 degrees, you go in the opposite direction. So if you're going backwards in time and you want to go forwards in time, you phase shift 180 degrees and then you're going forwards in time. And given that the time machine works via consciousness, you don't want the guy to be thinking about the dinosaurs. You want him to be totally unconscious, then you can phase him through time. So I thought this was very, very interesting. And of course it's control, and he said this, it's not in this article, but he said it looks like the time machine looked like a giant pad, like a helicopter pad, them helicopter pads, and that's exactly what you would expect from a real time machine. According to the George Van Tassel's Integratron, you would expect it to be like a giant pad where the magnetic field is open, where the magnetic field is huge magnetic field with the time field hidden inside it, open wide enough for a guy who's like, you know, completely asleep, snoozing his booze off, would better fit, probably in a fetal position. So it makes perfect sense. So anyway, let's get on to the real subject. Sports Astrology by John Fawley. The universe is energetic. So I've used John Fawley's the information in this book to predict the winner of the Super Bowl in the last 2 years. It's very interesting. And if we look at the 2013, no, 2023 Super Bowl, what the book says is that the first house here is the favourite and the seventh house opposite it is the underdog. So you take the Lord of Leo, which is the sun, and you see where that is, it's here. And you take the Lord of the seventh house. What, the seventh? No, it was the Aquarius. Saturn. Saturn's nowhere near the first house, but the sun, the Lord of, is approaching the seventh house of the underdog. Now, if it's approaching it, it means that the sun, the favourite, controls the underdog. If the sun was inside the seventh house, it would mean that the underdog would control the favourite. And of course, the favourite did win that year. So that's quite interesting. And of course, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. No, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Lord of the seventh. But what's interesting is the energetics lined up. So let's look at 2025. Everybody's thinking. So here we go. 2025. New Orleans, 9th of Feb, 6:30 local time. Here we go. The favourite is Lord of Virgo, which is Mercury here. The underdog is Pisces. The Lord of Pisces is Jupiter up here. And as we can see, again, it's very similar to what it was before, is that Mercury, the Lord of the first house, which is the favourite, is approaching the seventh house. So he dominates the seventh house. If he were inside it, the seventh house, the underdog, would control the game. So the question is, it looks to me, and also the moon's last aspect is often an indicator of the winner, and the moon is at 20 degrees Cancer, and Mercury is at 21 degrees. So that aspect, I'm thinking, so when the moon moves, it's going to aspect Mercury, which is Lord of the first house of the favourite. And so that suggests that the favourite will win this game. The only question is, who is the favourite? Some people think it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and some people think it's Philadelphia Eagles. Well, I think the firm side is Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see what happens. But this chart suggests that because I've seen this before, where if nothing's affecting the first house of the favourites are obviously going to win. It's just a question of deciding who's the favourite. And if the Philadelphia Eagles are the favourites, then they control the seventh house because they're approaching it, even though they are a little bit off. But I've seen this pattern before. But it could be a close game. And so you've got the greatest show on earth, the Super Bowl. And we'll see what happens. But it looks like it'll be a good game. The favourites will win. It's just a question of who is the favourite. Take your pick. But it'll be interesting. Very interesting. It's an energetic universe.